And we're live with JCJ Street. How's it going, bud?
Yeah, the real J Money. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thing I was looking forward to all day today. I was going through my work day and I was just like, man, it's gonna be great to be on a podcast again because obviously you know that I have my own podcast with my friend Yash, and then you asked me to do this, and I've been on such a hiatus with it all, but glad to be here.
Yeah, man. I mean, because I remember being on your podcast at one point, and that was like what, over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know. It's like,
You've been on a couple times, so
yeah,
we've had you on as a guest.
dude. I mean, it's my first episode, and I had to. I mean, like I said, it had to be you because you're the one that's kind of guiding me in the social media world. That's not my forte. I've resisted for so long, and I've been very, very, very rebellious when it comes to like going against social media trends. So,
Yes, you are one of those where you're like, hey, if everyone else is doing it, I'm going the other way. I'm kind of the same too, but I kind of recognize sometimes you have to play the game to, you know, uh, get it right. But you're definitely a different breed when it comes to all that stuff. But happy that you're, seeing some success, and a lot of success as actually very, very quickly. So, you should be proud of that, and just looking where this podcast is going to take you. I'm excited.
yeah, so it's gonna be something. I hope that will be unique because it's gonna. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tie in the elements of the outdoors and even just cooking in general, just something like along the lines of hobbies and stuff, right? And down and basically as a way of kind of coping with like mental stress and using that for deep mental decompression, and that's really where like the inspiration came from. So like it's like okay, well if I really want to talk about those things, then I need to basically hop on board on social media. So that's how that all that came about. And yeah, so I mean, luckily it's been I mean yeah, it's been a lot of work, but luckily I've enjoyed some of it, and actually most of it, and I've got to fish a lot more. So yeah, but
Exactly, man. It's crazy that every single day that you have another picture of you fishing, and I'm just like, man, this dude is going on all these adventures and stuff. I'm just like, I'm getting a little jealous.
dude, I mean I have so many pictures, dude, that I can, and it's not the same fish. It's different different fish, of course, like because I mean I've done it a
It's the
couple of
same
times.
fish, you just pull it out.
I've done it a couple of times where I've taken the fish from a different angle and it looks like a different fish. Like it looks bigger in one picture versus the other. But I don't do that a whole lot anymore just because I kind of like the more practice I've gotten, the better I've gotten with fishing and picking my spots and everything, choosing the right baits. Because I only started fishing since March, so um, it's been
So you're saying that you're catfishing, like in the real sense, you're catfishing your fish.
no. I've done it before, not anymore. I mean, it's just one of those things. Because I mean, like, if you're gonna create value, you got to create it in some shape or form, right? You got to do with what you got, right? So, it's just one of those things where you can kind of like play the angle. Like one picture can have the fish with the type of like tackle that you're using, like the rod and reel and the lure, and the other one could just be like a selfie, like just for you. And I think that's probably the most reasonable I will ever get to in terms of like reusing the same fish. But like, I've been fortunate now that I don't have to necessarily do that. Like every like from like I don't know, from basically maybe like 2 months ago, like I've been catching pretty decent amount of fish. Some are small, some are big, and yeah, like, but the only thing is that the pond by where I live is now being under construction. So I don't know. Well, I mean, the park itself is under construction. I don't know what's that's gonna mean for the pond. So yeah, yeah. So it's kind of a crazy thing, man. But I'm telling you, you need to get out here to Texas, man, and just so we can go fish, man.
Well, you already know that my house is currently, getting a lot all benched and everything. So it's going to be there January, February, March, somewhere around there. So I'm
Yeah,
excited. But
yeah.
yeah. So what's the first topic? What do you want to get into?
Well, I was about to
Got
just
tons to talk about.
I was about to tell you that as soon as you finish your sentence. So okay. So one of the inspirations behind this, actually the main one, is the fact that like we all know COVID happened, right? That was the thing, and it was very unfortunate to those that have passed away from COVID. I'm not trying to downplay it or anything like that. Um, it's just that there is some nuance that needs to be had, and I think that's the reason why. Like, I mean, I don't think. I mean, that's definitely the reason why I kind of want to talk about this. But it's not even just so much COVID. It's just mental health, just in general, like mental health from work and mental health like in school and other things like social interactions with people and things like that. It's more just to be like, just to let everybody know that you're not alone. You're not alone. People deal with it, and especially like, I mean, dude, like the COVID thing, like that one, it was very shocking because the amount of suicides and suicide attempts that it just spiked up by was just ridiculous. Like like starting from like the lockdowns, like and it varies from state to state, and it was just bad, dude. Like I think I remember reading something about like, a certain county in Northern California that went from I mean, I'm fudging the numbers a little bit because I don't have the study with me right off the bat, but something about like I think maybe like three or five suicides per week. It went up to like seven per day, 7 attempts per day. You know, and
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, it's really interesting that I guess that's what sparked all of this, right? Was an extreme change in your routine, and it kind of pushed you to a place where it's like, hey, I'm experiencing something. I see it in other people as well, and that's kind of where you kind of found your voice and wanted to express some of that. Where you start on one topic as far as mental health or mental illness, or even just like daily routine, and just it kind of evolves from there, right? But yeah, you're right. When COVID hit, I didn't expect all the news as far as mental health and just suicide rates going up. But then really I got introspective and really kind of did a tally of where I was in my mental health, because I was feeling a lot of things that I wasn't used to, just with having a stepdaughter that was, in the house all the time, having to handle with her education, and then also having my wife that was in the same room and working with me, and just changing my work environment. So there's just tons of changes that were kind of forced upon you. And then obviously, spending time with family isn't going to drive you, crazy, but I think it's more of your routine of, for me, like I need to go out in nature and just like, that's what really makes me feel alive. And they're telling me I have to be locked down in my room. So it just felt that I was locked in this, 8x8 square at my house, and, I couldn't really come out and do anything else. So if I was feeling that, then I know that a lot of different people across the globe are feeling that as well. So I think it's great that you're actually touching on that and addressing it.
Yeah, I mean, because yeah, because I mean, for those that are listening, if you ever follow JCJ Street, follow his handle on Instagram, you'll see that there's a lot of like outdoor trailing, like jeeping adventures that that you go on, and it's inspiring to see like all the like the new heights that you reach and everything. Like when you go to Arizona, all that stuff, and it's like you're seeing all that, you see all the beauty that the world has to offer, and then like you said, like you feel confined into this weird like 10 by 10 box or whatever, however you want to see it, right? Like you have like this prison, which ironically it's kind of a weird thing, but because I saw this on that show Community, the one that I can't get enough of. There was one quote there that I kind of even though it was purely like for comedic value, it kind of made sense. Like it said something along like the hardest prisons to break out of are the ones without bars. And kind of like when I was thinking about all this, it's like, yeah, like it makes sense because when you look at yourself and you put yourself in like, yeah, like you have a physical barrier, which is like your home, but the mental prison that you kind of like get when you get into that funk, then sometimes you can't even get out of that. It's like it's a mental prison, really, and like I know, like me personally, like because currently, I mean, I'm living alone. I'm living alone, so definitely felt a little hard being away from my family and everything, and then not being able to travel because we wouldn't, travel was kind of hard to come by, and I was getting to the point where I was just like I either have to drive or something because things are bad. But luckily, I mean, I kind of ventured out a little bit, and I started like at least going out for a jog or something, and started doing that, and then I had my fishing pole for like about a year before I even actually used it, and when COVID hit, that's when I looked at the fishing pole and I was like, should probably take up fishing, and that helped a lot for sure. It's kind of like where it brings it all full circle. Under normal circumstances, you're able to like involved in the outdoors. You're able to take hikes, like especially like when we used to like when I used to live in California, like you're still there, but you're on your way over here. There's a lot of stuff to do in California, right? Like you can just go and like there's it, and, you can find a new scenery pretty close by. It's one of the luxuries of living in California that you can drive 20 minutes this way, you can see this weird hike, or you can hike off of Palos Verdes and you can go down a cliff and see the whales. You'll see the whales sometimes like popping out of there, and it's pretty dope. Like you see all that, and I think us as humans, like we're meant to be like adventurers, explorers. Like even and definitely also we're meant to socialize. So yeah.
Yeah, and you touched on several different points there. So I guess going to first, I wanted to address like you and your personal challenges when it comes to COVID. You living by yourself, you going to a different state where you have a good friend that's nearby but not really close.
Mm-hmm.
Your family's still back in California. As far as the work culture and all that stuff is gone remote. So communication between your coworkers is dropped off. Your ability to go out and entertain yourself, other than like fishing and stuff like that, it had to have been a hard transition for you as well. And it's just like everyone's going through their different transition, right, and handling it differently. And I just can't imagine, because I personally can't live alone. I always needed roommates in college, and then just needed to have people around, at least in that proximity. But that can be really tough for somebody that isn't built like that. They're if they're a natural extrovert, they're just like, I feel weird without people around.
Yeah.
But it's difficult, but but you found in fishing and hiking and just exploring your area where you could be by yourself, but also get a lot of, let's say, just rejuvenation and just newfound inspiration in everything that you do. Do you think that you felt that way as well?
Yeah. So once I got more into posting more like about fishing and stuff like that, because like basically I shifted my Instagram from like a personal one to basically an outdoors page, and once I started doing that, so it felt pretty cool. Like because I've talked to a few people that have. I mean, I haven't met them personally, but I've ran into them online, and we share different stories, and it's pretty cool. So it's definitely inspiring because I mean, there's times where I'm inspired by other fishermen or other outdoorsmen, and there's times where people are inspired by me, or they're just kind of like see like, oh, you're doing really well, and even then it's still kind of hard to really like let it sink in, right? So because that's the thing, like when I mentioned about like the mental prison, because like you're your biggest critic, like everybody knows that, right? Like you're your own, like nobody can take you down more than yourself. Like whether you let something from the outside come in and take you down, or you do it to yourself. It's very very complex, and it goes beyond, like I said, beyond COVID. This is just something that's weighs on people all the time. And I don't know, I'm not trying to like get all like really like sentimental, but like a lot of times, like I mean, things are changing nowadays. Like a lot of times, like when, especially as like guys, like it's kind of like like it's under certain scenarios where you're able to vent, right? Like locker room talk or whatever, or just having over a beer. But it's like like because I mean, it's been one of those things where you have to toughen up, right? Like we've been told to toughen up, which yeah, I mean you should toughen up. There's nothing wrong with that to a certain degree, but it's like at the same time, like you should be like reaching out for help, whether it's like, hey, do you want to go grab a beer, or like or something like that. Like doesn't necessarily have to be like an outright, but like, hey, yo, like let's go talk about our feelings or something like that. Like there's ways to go around it. Like yeah.
And I'd say COVID and just that like mental checklist and just like reconciling all of my emotions throughout that COVID experience kind of gave me a reset on how I approached mental health, because like you said, growing up as a boy, you're I mean, if you have a culture that masculinity is just like, oh, hey, if you get hurt, dust yourself off, get back up, don't be emotional, don't cry, like things of that sort. So I think as far as mental health was always just like, okay, part of being a man is being stable mentally and not being quick to anger, being
Agreed.
very just like not feeling not being a robot, but at least you can be compassionate, be loving, you can help do the right thing, help people in need, but also being unemotional when it comes to situations where if something gets you upset, you're not gonna try to hit somebody or use violence. So emotional incontinence was always something that kind of just like, wow, like people that just cry and moan and cry, just all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're kind of unhinged. Now,
Right.
that's where the reset kind of came when with COVID, I was kind of dealing with different emotions internally, and I kind of had to go through those struggles alone because I didn't feel comfortable. I guess being vulnerable a little bit more with my wife since we've gotten married, but just a lot less so publicly. It's just like, I'm not going to talk about that stuff, but there needs to be a conversation with a lot of stuff because, men, we go through a whole slew of different challenges. And if we're not, usually we confide in our friends and just kind of ask like their advice or, tell them over a beer, like you said, but it's difficult to do that publicly and to make it not so, I guess to wrap it up real quick was, two men were kind of laughed at recently for being emotional, and that was like Kanye West and Will Smith, where they're in a very emotional situation. Their emotions did come out where they started crying, but then they were also made fun of for being vulnerable like that. So that kind of, it's really taboo for men to be vulnerable.
Yeah, I see it changing a little bit, but it's still taboo to a certain extent, and it's slowly chipping away, but it's just that because there's no nuance, it's kind of like it's gonna basically turn into one of those things where it's like a pendulum type of thing, where it's just gonna swing hard in the opposite direction, and then it's not really gonna benefit us in the long run. Because we really what we're trying to what we need to strive for is just that nuanced approach, because we need to look for more pragmatic solutions, like more pragmatic strategies as how do we deal with these mental burdens. And actually that brings me to my next question, now that because I would imagine this be the case with a lot of people. I don't know personally yet. I have a small taste with like my nephew, just because he basically was born and he lived in my house, and we've developed a very good relationship, almost like father and son. But the question kind of that I have for you now is like, now that you have your family, because like you said, you have your stepdaughter and then you have your newborn, do you feel that it's more of a burden for you to actually like deal with this mental stress, like especially like during the time that a lot of people felt vulnerable because we didn't know what was going to happen next with COVID? Did you feel that you had to kind of like that burden just kind of like multiplied by weight by like 10 times or whatever? Like, did you feel that kind of pressure?
Yeah, so I was in a very fortunate situation when I went into COVID. I guess I was able to keep my job. I'm still able to work. I got married within 2020. Got married, had a child, and then also buying a home. So like the three most stressful things you can do. Doing that in the middle of a pandemic is pretty. Pretty stressful, but I think I kind of went through that in stride, but it would have been a lot worse if I did lose my job, where I'm like, okay, I'm the primary breadwinner, and that's still like that's the biggest concern for men is being able to be the breadwinner, because being a stay-at-home dad or anything like that is kind of not an option.
Oh, you kind of went out a little bit.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah. You said something
Yeah,
about
so
like being, staying at home dad was not an option. That's where you cut off after saying that.
gotcha. So it's still taboo to be a stay-at-home dad, and really finding your place in a family, especially if you're not the breadwinner, because you're supposed to be, the protector, the one that's going to lead the family and, just protect your family, provide for them. So I was just very fortunate. I've felt this year, I guess more than ever, that I've kind of gotten a hold of it.
Yeah.
Because 9 months ago, when I found out my wife was pregnant, it was a lot different. I was kind of just like, oh my God, like my life's over. Like, what am I going to do? I got to make tons more money. Like I was more panicking in that sense. But now it's more of just, I'm going through probably one of the toughest periods of my lifetime for sure. But I've been in a fortunate position. So I wouldn't say so much as far as the burden and the pressure, but I can see how that can be a weight that can break a lot of people. I would say the recession is probably the most recent period that I've seen families break apart and men having the struggle of, hey, I'm the primary breadwinner, my wife doesn't have income, what am I going to do with my kids and provide a future for them if I have nothing that's coming in? I'm losing the house. Like it's disastrous.
Yeah, it's something that, like I said, I got a small taste of it because, so being here and then just thinking about my nephew and my niece. My niece is the same. I have the same relationship. It's just that it's a little bit stronger with my nephew since I lived with him since he was at birth, since birth, right? So, but yeah, like I was that, I was constantly thinking because California locked down a lot harder than Texas, obviously, right, and a lot faster too. One of the things that I was like really, really stressing about was, do they have enough food, because there was food shortages, and then my nephew too, like how is he going to deal with having to wear a mask all day? Because I mean, he was only like what, 4 at the time. Like they don't really understand that. So it was, and then being here and not being able to do anything about it, like the pressure just kind of felt like more intense. It's, and you had your family, so, but at the same time, like just having a family doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be in a better place. Just because economic situations are different. Like if I was, I'll be honest, if I was married and we're both working a job, I would feel, even though like we'd still be fine with her salary. Like if I got laid off, I would definitely feel the pressure of like, hey, you need to start contributing, just because at the end of the day you're a team, right? So you're a team, you're in this together.
Yeah.
You don't want to be dead weight. Me personally, I know, like whether it's pride or just the work ethic, I don't want to be dead weight in any team that I'm in, sports or otherwise being in a relationship, right? So yeah, so there's definitely stress like that as well. Even though like the provider role is basically split equally. But and I think a lot of people are feeling it just because a lot of small business owners, like, I mean, their whole life was put into their business, and then it goes away. Like it's like, I mean, it's easy to say like, oh well, just look for something else. But like I think what was it like, I don't know what the percentage of like layoffs were like during the entire economy, but it was pretty hefty. So it's tough, and like when you have like a family, I'm assuming that's like it's harder to fill that void. Like some people, like I have talked to that were laid off. Like one of the people that I met fishing, he through fishing he was able to spend more time with the son and everything. So it ended up working out kind of good for him to a certain degree. But he's making moves. He's not like complacent or anything with that. Like he's making moves. He wants to be a good example um, to his son. It's like I get that same I get that sentiment that you want to be somebody that your kids can look up to. So I'm assuming that's kind of like that's gonna be the same too. Like once you start seeing, especially like your little one, once you start seeing her grow up and like walk around and follow you around, you're gonna be feeling that. You're looking forward to that.
Yeah, of course. It's such a head trip. It's such a change. I was a stepdad, but I thought I was going to be ready for a new kid. But I've changed so much in the 9 months that my baby was when my baby was growing, and once she was out, it was another change. And she just teaches me so much every single day, and just how to be a father. And um, I came from a family of boys, so me and my brother, we were raised up, and it's just like house full of boys. It's I'm going to raise my two daughters the same way, but then come to find out girls have different needs than guys. So it's going to be a lot different than how my dad raised me. Like I can't really pass that down to how I'm going to raise my daughters, and it's a lot of fun. I've gotten way too soft for my own good, so I just know they're going to take full advantage of me, and it's not right.
No, man.
But,
No, dude, it's like that because, like I said, it's the same way with my nephew. Like when I go home and it's like he's like, "Oh, let's do this," and I just want to go home and sleep. I'm like, "Oh, okay, fine, let's go play." It's like one of those things because like somebody was telling me too. I mean, keep in mind that those of you that are listening that we're not necessarily experts here. It's just random talk between two normal people. But somebody was telling me uh, that when they're really young, like from like they're one or like up to like about seven, like it's really important that you try not to say no to them. Not necessarily you give them everything they want or let them throw tantrums or anything like that, but like for example, if you come home and you're tired from work or tired from the gym, which was my case with my nephew, and he wants to play, you kind of tell him, okay, yeah, let's play, because he doesn't understand, or she, if it's in your case because you have a daughter, they don't understand that you're tired. They don't understand that. They just see you. They're happy. They're happy to see you. So you tell them no. It kind of, you know, it kind of basically crushes their heart in that moment, and it's really tough to basically tell like when is it going to be enough to the point where it actually starts affecting them in the long run, right? So there's definitely that you have to look forward to. But I mean, the good thing is that I mean you're making moves, and hopefully we both can basically set ourselves up for the future where we don't necessarily have to be in a position where we're exhausted and then still have to come home and play with the kids.
Yeah, so what my wife does with the kids while she's on maternity leave is something I can't do. So I'm trying to step up and like trying to clean the house and cook sometimes like to the best of my ability. But just stepping up in other ways, because as far as it's exhausting. I mean, when you have a 6-year-old, at least you can tell them what to do. But as far as having a child that is dependent on you for everything, and they can't really do anything else on their own other than just be cute. It can be hard when you're trying to earn a living as well. So I just try to facilitate her to the best of my ability. But you're right. Again, when your kids ask you like, "Hey, I want to do this," and it's not something where it's like a discipline thing. I tell my stepdaughter no a lot when it comes to like her iPad or watching television, but when it comes to her trying to play, like I want to discipline myself to say yes in those moments, because it's like, okay, this is something that's productive, and I can spend time with her. So those are the times, like you're absolutely right. That's very important as they're growing up.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, you love to hike. I mean, that's something that you can pass on to your daughter very easily because it's not gender specific or anything like that. I mean, sports. You never know. What if she becomes like professional and she's in the WNBA? You never know. Or soccer. I don't know.
Yeah, like my wife is so turned off on sports, but
Oh.
I'm just like, what? I'm just gonna push them until high school, and they can't say no.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, basketball or something like that. So Aubrey's really big on cheer, so I just want them to be passionate about something, like something, and just do it to the best of their ability, because that's a valued skill set, so that they can grow with some sort of discipline in a sport. I think
Yeah,
it's very important.
yeah, and I think it's part of like an aspect of building a good foundation for mental health is actually just basically learning the value of hard work, right? Like when you work that extra bit to achieve something, it's like it feels really good. Like when I basically caught my biggest bass like on my own, with because I basically taught myself how to fish. I mean, to a certain degree, yeah, because like I watched a lot of YouTube. I had my buddy kind of guiding me with some stuff, and but when I caught my biggest fish, like that adrenaline rush, the fact that because another thing too is that I was using a very very light rod and reel, so it was that much harder to bring the fish in. And this is only like a 4 pound, four almost 4.5 pound fish. But Oh my god, my forearms were so tired, dude. Just kind of going like this, reeling like that, and then because I was using a spinning reel,
Jeez, caught you a marlin or something.
dude. That's why I honestly thought I was like, what the hell? This must weigh like 8 pounds or 10 pounds or something like that. Because my line strength was only 10 pounds, so I was just like I was thinking like, oh, my line's gonna rip or whatever, and I kept going like that. And then with the spinning reel, like if you don't have the drag, which is like basically like the pulling power more or less, if you don't have that drag like set up if you set it up too tight, the line will snap. If you set it up too low, which is where I was at, you basically have to do more work because the little bit that you get from pulling them in, as soon as you stop, the fish will take the line. So, so basically, I was like, it took me like 5 minutes to reel the fish in, and then some guy comes over and he's like, "Why didn't you tighten your drag?" I'm like, well, I didn't know. Like, I just caught a fish and I was just like in the moment. I was like, what the hell? Like, what's going on? Like, I was like, am I going to catch my first bass? Am I going to catch my first bass? And I was all excited. And, luckily I was able to bring them in. And that's to this day, as of right now, that bass has been the biggest one I've caught. I've caught other ones that are close, but yeah, that's the biggest one I've caught, which I'm trying to now go for like a 5 pound bass. And but yeah, but like the hard work that I had to go through just to basically, land that fish it was definitely rewarding and definitely helped clear a lot of good things. And I was on like on a really good high, like just like, dude, what else can I achieve now? Like, I want to look at this, I want to master this, I want to master this. It's like, it's definitely something that we can like. We don't necessarily, and it's not even necessarily like specific to like kids. I mean, yeah, you're gonna pass it down because you're one of the hardest working people I know. I already know that that's just a given. You're gonna pass it down to your daughters. So, but like just the fact that you inspire other people, like that says a whole lot of things too. Um, yeah, and just bringing it back to mental health. Like if the purpose of this is like if somebody can that's hearing this, watching this, sees or hears something that they can relate to, then it's like, oh well, somebody else did it. There's a chance that I can escape my mental prison or something. Um, so that's kind of like the main thing. And but it's sometimes it's like it's just the stigma, pressure, or what have you of society kind of does make stack the odds against you. Like for example, like veterans, like when you look at veterans, like 22 a day commit suicide, right? And you think, oh, these dudes have been to war, so these dudes know, they're tough. But in reality, they might you never know. They might be like the biggest struggle that they're fighting. Nobody knows really, right? And especially
Yeah.
if you go with that social pressure that, well, you're in the army or you're in this, like you're tough, well they don't. I feel like it's like they can't express themselves, and it's kind of one of the things that we need to start doing, right? Like expressing yourself. And I've seen like a lot of vets that are like starting fishing companies, which is kind of cool. So and yeah, like if like for you with your daughter, like if you teach her like to go camping, set up a like I mean I know Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts can do that, right? I don't know. I've never been to either one of those, but like you take them
Yeah.
hiking,
Yeah.
yeah. You take them hiking, you give them a challenge, give them a challenge or something, and like, oh, it's like you praise them if they do good, and if you do bad, you don't necessarily like, dude, oh, like just being in sports. Oh my god, my dad sometimes like whenever I would miss a play, and then it's just like, hey, what the, this. I'm like, dude, chill out, get the next play. It's like, it's,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like if somebody does something wrong, everybody's different, so you got to figure out what's the right way to get that point across. That hey, this is where you messed up. This is how you do better or something like that. But like some people, there's a few. I mean, there's a few people that will. Oh, my light went off. There's a few people that that they respond really well to just someone being a hard ass to them. There's some people that do. There's some people that don't.
Yeah. Different motivational tactics, and yeah, every approach when it comes to coaching, all that stuff, you're gonna have kids that are gonna respond to a different, I guess, way of teaching. But then a great coach just knows how to adapt to different people. So if it's not the hard ass type, like, you're going to do it or else, or is it just like, hey, I'm going to tell you one time, you'll adjust, and then you can do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I think we live in a society that's, I hate sounding cliche and all that stuff. It's like, oh, we live in this type of society, but the one thing that we need to kind of separate is like that victimhood complex, and then also being vulnerable.
Right.
I think they're two very separate things, and I think it's just very popular to be emotional incontinent and just not able to deal with your emotions, and then you just have a lot of people that are just, I'm a victim, when they haven't even tried anything. But then on the other hand, you have people that are struggling that don't express themselves because they think that it's the wrong thing to do, or they've been taught to repress their emotions, or stuff like that. So I think you are bringing up something that's, especially for men, that needs to be discussed. And it's something that a lot of men just have different experiences with mental health.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because and it goes back to nuance. I mean, if you're on the extreme of both sides, and it's like you just are willing to die on that side, I mean, we're never gonna get anywhere. These are the type of conversations that I'm hoping that we can that I can have with more people, and and at the same time, like some lighthearted moments, like fishing stories, hunting stories, camping stories, whatever have you, right? Like I remember, like I saw like with that one picture, or I don't know if it was a picture or a video, where like you're going up this hill, and like literally the road was just the size of your Jeep, like that's how big it was, and you're all the way at the top. I'm like, how the hell are you not scared of like going all the way up there? But you got up there, it's like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a great experience to share for sure. So that's kind of why I like jeeping. It's relatively safe, but there's times where it gets a little dicey, and it's just like you pick your flavors. Either you want to go rock crawling over a whole bunch of cool stuff, or you just do an easy ride on a country trail. But it's all just it's fun to me.
But I bet you're not thinking about work or anything like that when you're doing all that, though, right?
Not at all, and that's really the point. And it's just so tough because I love capturing it all on my phone or my camera, and it just sucks me back to the computer in order to share it all. So
Yeah.
yeah, just being a digital marketer and doing that full time, and then being a content creator, it's just like it's way too much time in front of the screen. So naturally, I just have to do everything else off the screen. So
Yeah, man. Like same here. I work in IT, so I'm always sitting down as well. And then, I mean, now that I'm getting into this whole podcast thing, and even like the whole YouTube videos, um, just it's work, man. It really is. But like, there's times where I do feel like, oh, well, now I have to like edit this video. Now I have to edit this. Like, there's times where I feel like, oh my god, like I'm never off the screen. Like, but luckily though, like the few moments that I'm like capturing video or just fishing to like get new pictures, or driving like about an hour away just so I can go hike somewhere. Um, all that moment, those moments are definitely worth it. Just because I think just that experience outweighs like 2 or 3 days of work. Like just I don't know, like it's really really refreshing. That's kind of why I really do want to hike a little bit more, and I'm hoping that especially once you are out here with me, we can actually venture like weekend trips and just start going further out. I know it's gonna be a little bit harder for you because you got your little ones, but um, yeah, like that way we can like both capture some film, some good ass film, and I'm also gonna invest in a drone too, so we'll have two drones.
excellent. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm already looking up all the spots to head out to, and I've been looking at Possum Kingdom and all the water sports you can get into over there. But it's gonna get some getting used to all the seasons.
Yeah.
So just having having gear for the different seasons is gonna be quite an adjustment. But
Having 4 seasons in one day.
that too, yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I remember my first experience here, dude. It was I was just visiting too, and I think the first day was it. Yeah, like we went out to go shoot. We went out to go shoot with my buddy, and like when we went over there, it was slightly windy, but not hot. It was kind of like more like fall temperature, and then within 2 hours, once we were on the range, it got really humid and it got really hot. And I was like, what the hell? And then an hour from that, we got a tornado warning. I was like, we're like, what? So that was my first tornado warning. Like there was actually a tornado not too far from where we were at. And then as you know that the whole that whole tornado warning kind of dissipates because the tornado moved. Um, we start driving back to his place, and now it starts getting freaking cold. Like you're all the way down to like 20 some degrees Fahrenheit. Like yeah, it went like yeah that swing went from like 88 all the way down to like 20 something in just the span of a few hours.
I'm gonna change my mind about all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, dude,
Oh,
and it was crazy because like not only that, it started raining and then it started hailing, and it's like yeah, and then this was all on
that's
a
extreme.
Friday, just one
That's
Friday.
extreme.
Yeah, exactly. Just one Friday it was like that. So I was like, what the hell, dude? And then the rest of the 2 days it was just cold, but. That's so now that I'm being more outdoorsy, I'm not really looking forward to that weather.
Gotcha. No, I hear you. So I'll have to experience it, get used to it, and then make do.
Well, yeah, because I mean, we're both spoiled from being living in California for so long. I mean, dude, like, what was there's only one season nice.
And I've been spoiled every time I visit Texas.
Yeah,
It's always nice when I go there. It's never humid. So
yeah.
I just go out there at perfect times. I don't know. Maybe I'll bring the weather with me.
Hopefully, we bring the good luck because right now it's actually pretty good. Like, it's nice and cool. It's still a little, it's hot enough to get a tan, but it's not that hot. Like, it's pretty good, and the fishing right now is pretty good too. Like the transition from fall to summer. This is my first time that I go through that transition. And it's a bit of an adjustment, but I've caught some pretty big fish and I've gotten some recognition from other fishermen. So I mean, I guess I'm doing something right. I was actually out fishing right before, well, not right before, but like about an hour before we started this podcast, and I was sneaking into some golf courses. Yeah,
But yeah, they're gonna have a warrant out for your arrest.
I know, right?
Sneaking on golf course. Like, this is a country club. You can't be coming out here.
Well, that's where there's gonna be the biggest fish, though, dude. Like, I'm looking for my 5 pounder. Yeah, man. And dude, once you're out here, dude, I'll definitely teach you how to fish. I got plenty of gear.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll have to find the patience for fishing because I've never had it from before. But we'll see if I can get through it.
Trust me, dude. You know I'm a very impulsive person, and if I can have patience to fish, I know you can, for sure.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, man, dude. Like, it's gonna be fun. Like, dude, like. By the way, have you ever like ran into a mountain lion when you've been on your hikes?
No, so I've been very fortunate to not have because usually I go hiking by myself. I don't know. My wife and my mom always tell me it's like, hey, you shouldn't be doing that by yourself. And I don't know. Like California is relatively safe. Like there's a mauling every now and then, but
Every now and
I
then.
feel like yeah, but I feel like I can wrestle a cougar, by myself in the non-sexual way. But it's it's
I would hope.
have you seen one?
I've heard stories of like mountain lion, not here, but like in California, about mountain lions stalking people. And apparently, one dude actually was able to choke one out, but apparently, it was like a little like adolescent mountain lion. So I've also heard that mountain lion tastes pretty good. I've never tried it myself, but I heard it's pretty tasty. Yeah.
I could just see you just like, great, a mountain lion, and just chasing it into the woods.
Oh,
Like,
dude,
I really could see.
dude, I'll go at him with a knife or something, dude. I got my Bowie knife, and I'll just carry that with me. And just
It's like
reckless.
Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah, red was it Red Dead Redemption? Yeah, straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, and like some of the places that like I've walked into, like once you're out here, and I'll take you over there to those places. We need to be strapped because there are boar everywhere. So
Wow.
if we find one, free bacon.
Yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to that. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, dude. Like so.
Like steak bacon.
Yeah, because I found a couple of spots just like in I guess it's state forest. I don't know if it's a national forest, but I found a couple of spots they're good for fishing. It's just I wish I had a kayak so I can explore those spots. And but like in one pond, you can hear the gunshots, like of people like going after the boar or whatever. Like you hear the gunshots. And the other one, not so much. But I would still recommend taking at least a 45 in the woods with you in case we do run into a boar, because those things will maul the hell out of you, and they'll kill your dog, they'll kill you, they'll eat you. So you don't want to go through all that.
Yeah, I don't want to be bacon food. I like bacon. I
Yeah,
like eating bacon.
yeah, same here, dude. I like my pigs in my stomach. You know, I love to eat.
Yeah,
So hey, but
I hear that.
have you learned how to cook, man? Because you're gonna eventually have to learn how to cook, man.
Yeah, I can cook quesadillas now. I mean, I don't want to brag or anything, but grilled cheese and quesadillas are that's my diet right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just make sure
I'm
you
a little off on me still, but
just make sure you keep them away from me, dude. You know, I'll straight up jack your quesadilla. Yeah.
all right. So for those listening right now, got a story for you. So uh, Al Baez over here, when we used to go out on the bar scene, one night we're coming back. Everyone's got their food from Del Taco. I get my usual 2 cheese quesadillas and a large fry. And so, it was a night of, some drinking. So I go to the restroom to relieve myself. I come back out and I behold Al just has just pilfered my quesadilla, just nomming on it. And I mean, I got pissed, didn't I?
Well, wasn't I on the floor, just passed out, munching on your quesadilla?
Something like that, but I was pissed. I was just like, "You're dead to me. Can't be." I don't know. I feel like that's the biggest disrespect. You can slap me in the face, and I feel like that's less of an insult than stealing my quesadilla.
Dude, like I think stealing your girl would be less of an insult than stealing your quesadilla.
Yeah, to me, like I mean,
Dude, like I'd never seen you so mad, dude. That's the thing. Like I always thought like, nah, this is just playing around, and I was like, oh no, I can see the intensity in your eyes, man. Like you're straight up pissed. I ate your quesadilla, and it didn't help that I think the next 2 times that we did that, I purposely ate your quesadilla just to piss you off.
yeah, yeah. So I don't even know why we're still friends. I don't even know why I'm on this podcast actually.
Well, I mean, hey, I don't know either. So just get the hell out. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, dude. But yeah, no, dude. Those were fun times, and hopefully we're gonna definitely create some memories over here. But bring it back because we only got about like 13 minutes left. But bringing it back to like the whole suicide with veterans, man. Uh, what's your? I mean, like, what's your opinion on all that? Like, how like, I mean, obviously this is not a place to necessarily get political, but there's definitely things that we can talk about in terms of approach of how to address that. Really, like, just veterans like. Some of them don't have jobs. Some of them just don't have the proper health care. I don't know, man. What's your reaction to all that? Because one thing that I'll say is like these guys volunteer to defend us from foreign and I think domestic. I don't know, but just foreign threats, right? But I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm not the most knowledgeable on the topic, but I'll kind of just go with my layman's knowledge that I have of the whole thing. I believe when these men and women go overseas to preserve our freedom and they come back and we just leave them to their own, devices after they leave the army, I think there's obviously PTSD is a huge issue. They're coming back from some type of trauma, either mentally or physically, and I think that first healthcare is not provided for them, or the proper healthcare, in order to segue from being in the military to being a private citizen, and that's very challenging. I think there's not a lot of people that can really empathize with that. Just because it's very stressful. It's a lot of different things that they experience over there, very difficult things, and just being an average American, you just can't fathom that. So we could do a better job at just segueing them into private life. That will help them. It will reduce, I guess, poverty also criminality,
Mm.
self-inflicted pain or domestic abuse. I think it solves a lot of those ills because, and it just really just lies on how do I adjust from being a military person where my single job is to go out there and just be a machine, and then I come back into private life and I have to be a part of society. It's very very hard. It's a hard transition.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people talk about that, like where apparently like you go from like, you know, I mean, when you're at war, like you're shooting kids, wives, people like that, dude, and like you come home and it kind of like you see like kids here and how they're playing. It's like you take it for granted, right? That's kind of a it's tough because like when you feel all that burden, like when you see all that, you kind of like I would imagine like somebody would just kind of rethink what they were actually doing overseas or what have you. But it's kind of a weird thing that we're plagued with as humans because um, that's I mean it's reality unfortunately. Like there's wars, there's disputes amongst people. It's hard to understand sometimes why, but and sometimes it's really dead obvious. But it sucks that we're in that position. It sucks that we send people to do all that and like you said, be machines and then just expect them to come back all natural and just be good. I mean, as far as like it's really tough to really say like what can be done better. Obviously, we need to figure out a way to take care of them. But one of the things that for me it kind of bugs me, and this is not just related to this particular issue, but like if you look throughout history, what like where we're at with the term PTSD wasn't how we started. We started with like I think shell shock. Like everything was called shell shock. Like when you come back from overseas, and then I mean you see this like on George Carlin when he has one of his specials. He talks about how like certain words like are changed because for whatever reason, right? That gets funny by the way, but like yeah, like it's the same thing with a lot of issues. Like for example, South Central LA. Like people thought that by changing the name it'd be more appealing for people, but basically they just changed it to South Los Angeles. And it's like, okay, but what have you done to solve crime, solve the food desert problem? Like nothing, And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a lot of things like that, even in society, just like in social issues, uh, for some reason people think that changing the name is gonna make a difference. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's half-assed solutions for a very very complex issue.
yeah, I mean, I would even say it's a no ass solution because I mean you ain't getting anywhere just doing that,
Well,
right?
yeah, that specific example, it's not even half-assed. Like it does nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, it's one of those things where like you're talking about like victimhood, right? Where it's like sometimes like other people, they're not going through what people are going through, are more offended than the person that's going through that, right? So it's really tough because like it just diverges from the actual issue, which is where again going back to what I was talking about a few minutes ago, the whole thing about nuance. We definitely like if it is a term that it's what it is, we need to just be like, okay, well that's the term. Changing the definition, using a different term is not going to change the issue. It's not going to blanket the issue. It's still an issue. Let's stop focusing on how to define a certain thing or changing the definitions of certain things, and let's actually try to address it. I think there's definitely like again like just changing some social norms. I think that definitely would help. Hopefully this does. I mean, I know I'm kind of a insignificant right now because we're just starting, but if this helps one person like just assess their situation and hopefully they know that they're not alone. There's plenty of people that at one point or another have dealt with that kind of stuff. Even like some people that you see on social media, they look pretty happy. I'm pretty sure at one point or several they felt somewhat insecure, somewhat a little bit mentally unstable, and it's important that we just kind of like start really talking about this and not worry so much about the type of words that we use to encompass the solution, the issue, and actually just try to look towards a solution. Uh, it's not something that's like, oh, let's just throw money at it. Like that's not even what I'm talking about. It's just like there's definitely pragmatic solutions, pragmatic approaches that we can take. We just have to actually have the nuanced discussion of it. So that's basically my opinion around that. But it's tough. Hopefully, this kind of like gets the ball rolling, and more people can go out and have a beer and be like, hey, like that's how you feeling? How you doing? Did you have a good day at work today? Stuff like that. I mean, even if it's over a beer, it doesn't necessarily have to be like just like, hey, I'm gonna call my best guy friend just to start talking. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like that. Just as long as like we're all good.
Yeah, and I think it's a worthwhile discussion, and I'm happy that you actually are bringing this up. And the more you touch on it, the more people that you can help, and just improving their lives in some small way that can change their whole trajectory of self-destruction or pain or anything like that. So I respect that.
Yeah, and that we also have to be careful not to get sucked in as well, right? Because that saying, misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've definitely got, yeah. I don't know about you, but I've definitely have gone dragged into some deep holes, like, and I've also dragged other people into some deep issues, especially with that. The last girl I dated, that did not help me, and the other person I was venting to, that did not help them at all either. So, yeah. So we just gotta be a little bit more supportive. We don't necessarily have to be like holding hands and singing "Kumbaya," right? It's just having a discussion about it sometimes makes a difference.
Small changes. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So we're down to our last few minutes. Any last thoughts regarding, I don't know, mental health? Any of the topics we talked about, like starting a family? Any last thoughts?
Yeah, I think just my closing statement would be for everyone to just do a self-assessment on their situation. I try to do this on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, just with a lot of the goals that I have. But sometimes I get a little too into the weeds when it comes to my personal goals. So there's a lot of clutter that gets in there, a lot of, I guess, things that take up space that shouldn't. Like sometimes it'll be either politics or it'll be like drama with a friend or things that shouldn't even be taking place or taking up space in your head. So just urge people, if they're struggling with any sort of just bad feelings, self-esteem, anything like that, just do a self-assessment, do an internal checklist of just like, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? What can I cut out that's toxic in my life? And that'll just be the first step to really just have an emotional peace and moving forward. That's my 2 cents.
Hey, those are very valuable 2 cents, Rand. You pretty much nailed it right there. At least that's definitely a first good step. You got to start from within before you can project it out to the world. Yeah, and then lastly, let us know what you're working on. I don't know if you want people to know your Instagram handle. I kind of already shared it earlier in this podcast, but if you want to throw it out there again, feel free to do so.
Yeah, so again, my name is Joshua Jacobs, aka at JCJ Street. You can find me everywhere: Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, wherever you want to reach out to me. If any sort of questions you have for me, feel free to reach out. I definitely post a lot of outdoor adventure stuff, so we can kind of connect on that, but also entrepreneurial stuff. If you're starting a family, any sort of advice on that, on those points as well, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I will say again, this is the reason why I had JCJ Street, Josh Jacobs, as a first guest of this podcast, because he's the one that helped me get the social media game going. He's definitely somebody that I've confided into and I've talked to about lots of stuff, and we definitely have had some outdoor adventures at the river, even just out in out hiking and stuff. We haven't done a whole lot of hiking, but yeah, like easy. So if you're looking to get inspired, I think JCJ is the best way to go. Like you definitely find some inspiration there. It's the inspiration when it comes to family, the outdoors. Like you said, the entrepreneurial spirit. Definitely, you're gonna find that a lot, and I think it's definitely a good person to have and good person to follow.
Thanks, Al. Well, I appreciate you having me on the podcast, man. We'll have to do this very soon.
Yeah, man, it's good to have you. And my last thought is, so hopefully this discussion helps some people out. We're definitely gonna. My plan is to definitely have more of these discussions with other guests. It's also gonna be a little bit lighthearted, and actually we're gonna share stories like about the outdoors and different tips and things of how to get into stuff. That will all be coming. I try to keep this to about an hour, just because I want to make sure that I'm not just rambling on, and we don't drag this out more than it should, and just to keep things like going. Just I think an hour is a good amount of time that you can like listen to the radio on your way to work, or just chill, whatever, what have you. But thank you guys for tuning in, and hope that you guys tune in to the next future episodes. And yeah, this is a work in progress, so it'll only get better from here on out. But thank you for joining the journey. All right, that's a wrap.
Awesome. Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Josh.